Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Romm's Repertoire, where I offer walkthroughs, practice tips, and a live performance of pieces selected from the Florida Solon Ensemble trumpet list. Today's tune, Petite Piece Concertante by Balay. This is a lovely little tune with plenty of technical challenges that I want to help you simplify today, and help you figure out how to practice this the most efficiently. This is a deceptively tricky little rascal, with plenty of wide intervals. It would be best for you, instead of trying to rely on muscle memory of the lip, be able to hear everything that you want to play. Hit the center of every note, practice it very slowly. A good way to do this is to sing, buzz, and play. Dee-da-dee-da-da-da-dum. But sing it better, it won't be hard. What this does is help your ear recognize exactly where you need to go, so that you don't really have to think about it with your lips. You just hear it and play it. Now, you're going to be using your third valve a fair amount in this piece, so if you haven't been practicing finger exercises incorporating your third finger, might be a good idea to start now. Clark, Arbens, anything out of your technical studies, especially scales. Wink! As well, there are a bunch of accidentals throughout this piece. Don't let those take you off guard. For example, 7 measures before the poco agitato, we have an E flat at the end of the measure tied across to a D sharp. They sound the same, so don't change your fingerings. As a general idea, it would be good for you to take a look at the patterns that you see. Figure out what scale or arpeggio you're dealing with, so you're looking at patterns rather than individual notes. There are way too many individual notes for us to focus only on that, and that's what we tend to do. For example, 7 measures after the avec élégance, we have a 16th note run, and it would be really good for us to really practice our E major and C sharp minor arpeggios. That way when you get to the B sharp, which sounds like a C natural, all you do is add that to the arpeggio, and boom, you got your run. It's not that easy, I know, but think of it that simply. When you listen to my recording of this, you're going to notice that there's a lot of push and pull with the tempo. Try not to make this out of character. So you still want to keep a steady pulse throughout. And as well, if you do too much, you're going to make your audience feel kind of seasick. Make sure the speed ups and slow downs, yes, technical terms, feel natural and organic. There's also plenty you can do with dynamic shaping here. I like to think of the echo effect that ballet includes in measure 18, forte, and then 2 measures later, piano. So it's a very similar idea, just think farther away, off into the distance. And as well, I prefer to play every staccato in this piece as bouncy, not dot 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 dot. Think light the entire time. That makes especially the descending arpeggio figures a lot easier to manage. As well, you see the little notes that are attached like in the first line called grace notes. Those don't have any actual metric value, so it's kind of a little blip right before the big notes. You'll hear what I mean in the recording. Overall, do your best to make this whole thing light and easy sounding. march, the same ideas will apply. Try and stay light the entire time. As soon as you get heavy with the articulations, da 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 da, all of a sudden it gets a lot harder to play. You want to make it sound as easy as possible. I also like to play this one a little under the march tempo of 112. Otherwise, if it gets too fast and out of control, you got to think of it like a march. If we're trying to march too fast and everyone falls over, well, it's only funny when it's somebody else. Remember that this does not have to be super loud. Give the notes plenty of front, da 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 da, especially when you have a big leap. For example, look at the piano figure 9 measures after the beginning of the march. Make sure we're not trying to slur down to the low C after playing the B flat in the middle of the staff, because otherwise it makes it a lot harder. Give both notes plenty of front. A short note on accuracy: because we have a lot of wide intervals, we tend to try and do the work with our embouchure. Wee-you, wee-you, wee-you. Try and keep this as still as possible, and rely on your air and tongue, rather than trying to do it only with the lips. Some mirror practice, playing in front of a mirror and watching and observing, or using your phone to record what it looks like. Whatever you need to do to make it easiest to make the music happen. So again, in your slow practice, try and keep your corners firm, chops set, so that you're not wiggling around with your embouchure. It's very difficult to be accurate that way. Note that we have that 4-measure trill as we near the end. Now keep in mind this doesn't have to be very loud or very fast. I believe the purpose of this is to actually build suspense. So hit the first note of that trill with a little bit of weight, da, and then back off a little bit, and then build to the end of it, where you come back to dum da dum dum dum. You'll hear it in the video, don't worry. And again, remember the trill does not have to be too fast, otherwise it sounds like whatever you do, make sure you keep counting when you're wiggling your fingers through that trill. In the last 4 systems, it can be difficult to find a good place to breathe. Note that I tend to breathe more often than I need to, simply because I want to have enough air to make it to the end strong without decrescendoing. Wink, wink. Feel free to mark the places where I breathe, and you can discuss that with your teacher or band director when you're working on this by yourself. One last note, try to avoid decrescendoing on the last note. You've done all this crazy stuff to build up to da-dum, and if you back off on that last note, it kind of weakens everything that you've done. Okay? So you don't need to scream the last note. Make sure it's strong and full, all the way to the end. Have fun with this one. It's a lovely tune.